Hi, good morning. Welcome to this daily live astrology chat. I'm happy to be here as always to talk to you about the current astrology, astrology in general, and any questions that you might have. Today, I wanted to focus specifically on what's going on right now in the late degrees of water signs because there's some really positive potential for any planets and points that we have at those degrees. And so I just wanted to highlight that and speak about that for just a few minutes. Um, whether you have, well, let's just take a quick look at the chart. First, we have Mars here at the late degrees of Cancer, and Mars is retrograde in Cancer. So that's pulling some emotions up to the surface for us in a way that isn't usually available to us. Cancer relates to home, to family of origin. It can be very self protective, very protective of others. And those emotional needs are sort of right on the surface for us to understand right now. And so that's sort of a rare opportunity, and especially positive if you have a planet or point there or at other late degrees of water signs. So even if you don't have anything over, or I should say, although there aren't any planets in the late degree points of Scorpio, because there's so much happening late Cancer and late Pisces, that's interacting with any planets that you might have in your own chart in those late degrees of Scorpio. Okay, so now let's look over at Pisces for a second. And I want to talk specifically about the Neptune North Node conjunction because that's at those late degrees, forming a trine, right, to this Mars and to any planets and points that you might have up in Scorpio. But I highlighted the entire sign of Pisces because this Venus Saturn conjunction that's building here is really significant as well. First, it's just important to mention all of the activity that's coming in Pisces in the next couple of months, particularly in the late degrees. Um, the North Node is traveling this way through the chart. All the other planets travel this way. And they're all sort of meeting up and interacting here. So first we have this North Node conjunction with Neptune and then with Saturn, and Venus is in the mix as well because Venus is going to go retrograde and mean that Venus will be traversing these points multiple times. So I want to talk more about all of that as we move forward. And I think that tomorrow I'm going to do a video specifically on the Venus-Saturn conjunction. But I just want to say this about it because it relates to the North Node Neptune conjunction, which is really the focus here at the late degrees of Pisces. Venus and Saturn is about giving us some structure for relationships, for finances, for any sort of Venusian concepts that are coming up. They need grounding in the real world, and that's what Saturn provides. This is a positive conjunction. They support each other, especially with Venus being exalted here in Pisces, lending that energy to Saturn that's been here for quite a while. The two of those signatures sort of merging is very supportive in terms of providing structure and practical support for what we want, for relationship, for different, things along those nature. It needs structure to take root. So as I said, I'll discuss this more tomorrow, but I just want to kind of just give that basic idea because it relates to the Neptune North Node conjunction that I'm talking about that's building now, in terms of that's another way in which we're gaining structure. There's the potential, the opportunity to create some structure for the things that we want. So what's really wild about this Neptune North Node conjunction is just the combination of these two signatures, especially when I look at it from the highest sort of potential manifestation of Neptune, which one of them can really be dreams. Neptune allows us to see past places that we used to think were the limit, to look beyond and dream beyond what we even thought was possible, right? And then the North Node, that's one of the things Neptune does. Neptune does other things too, but we're talking positive potential right now. The North Node helps us to bring in to our lives the things that are really meant for us. It points us in the direction that we intend to go, that we intended to go. Uh, depends on how you think about it. You might think of this as genetic memory. You might think of it as karma. You might think of it as a decision or a plan that you made before you got here. Whatever it is, those things that feel really right, those things that feel really like you. Maybe they're challenging, maybe they're not easy, but the North Node helps us bring in those things that are really meant for us. So that harmonizing with Neptune, with dreams, could be, one of the highest potentials of that could be our dreams becoming real, right? Whatever dreams that you have that are really meant for you, even if they're a little far out, them getting sort of some footing in the world. And then I think that this Saturn Venus conjunction happening right now at the same time, it's part of what's drawing my energy to that, even though this Neptune North Node is still building. It is within, less than 2 degrees, so it's definitely active right now. I guess it's still just a tad more than 2 degrees, but anyway, we have these emotions sort of up on the surface for us to work with, for us to heal, even old things that we haven't been able to work with for quite a while. They can come to the surface for us to understand and work with and heal with the Mars retrograde in Cancer. Positive potential of that. Then we have our dreams sort of becoming more and more real, us gaining some structure for our highest ideals, for what we really want, for our relationships, for financial structures, for the way things are coming together sort of in a material sense, like even the way things look. And so all of that sort of harmonizing together and pinging around through the late degrees of the water signs, which, the 29th degree point in particular has a bad reputation sometimes for being a bit heavy. And it should. It is. It's known as the anoretic degree. But these late degrees in general, and the 29th especially, there's a mastery level to it, right? And that's part of why it's a little bit difficult, maybe, and part of why it feels heavy or challenging, or we might feel a little bit nervous if we see those late degrees coming. But it's working with these signatures in sort of a mastery level. The planet has spent a lot of time there, and now it's at the late degrees, and we're doing sort of the highest, most difficult stuff with it. Not the most difficult, that's not really the right word. Like the deepest, the richest. We're working with it in a really rich way, and we have the skills that we need to embody that signature in the highest way. So I really recommend taking extra care of ourselves right now. I think that that's a great idea in January in general. With the sun in Capricorn, we can really be working hard right now. And that's a January vibe in general. The holidays are over. It's sort of back to routines. It's cold out, and we can get run down. And I just think water sign work, it's so, when there's a lot going on in water signs, it can feel sort of draining and blurry. Like you might want to be you might just feel a little sleepier. Mars retrograde, we don't always have the same level of like motivation and drive when Mars is retrograde. Mars is sort of taking a bit of a nap. He's like home in Cancer, getting some dinner, taking a nap. It's not really the easiest time to push things forward. So you still can push things forward, but it just requires a little more effort than usual. So we need a little more self-care than usual. And I think just to integrate so much of this stuff with the water signs right now, which can come in on an emotional level or an intuitive level, it's just a little bit more extra important to rest and take good care, um, so that all of that can potentially be realized, at the highest level, because there really is great potential here. So I wanted to discuss that opportunity, which is active for the next little bit. I'll be back on tomorrow to talk about the Venus Saturn conjunction specifically, and I might talk a little bit about Neptune and the North Node as well. I'll attach a couple other videos here that are relevant to the current astrology. Thank you so much for being here, and I'll be back tomorrow. Leave any questions or thoughts in the comments, and I'll get back to you right away. Thank you so much.